How's it going, dudes? Welcome back to the worst board game of all time, Community Tournaments. We've just wrapped up the shabby semifinals, so now it's time to meet the two games that have fought their way through the entire field and made it to the Grievous Grand Finals. These two have overcome the vast amount of obstacles in their way to be now on the doorstep of greatness, and are now only one step away from claiming their title as the worst of the worst. Alongside the games, we also have our bracket challenge nearing its conclusion, with bracket holders watching with held breath as they hope that their games will be able to bring them the points they need to claim that top prize. Before our semi-final round, our leader was Bai and the Bunny, who managed to reclaim their solo lead, being the first bracket to surpass the 1,000 point mark. But will they be able to hold on to that lead through the turbulent semi-final round? That's what we're here to find out now with the official declaration of the semi-final results. Per tradition, I am joined virtually by my color commentator, Joshua Jacobs.
Pleasure to be here, Cam. I cannot wait to meet our two championship competitors.
Same here. Let's head over now to the big bracket and meet our winners from the semi-final round. We'll start off at the high semi-final matchup to meet our first championship competitor. The first game advancing to the grand finals will be the number 5 seed, the Rock, Paper, Scissors game. The champion of the Stank region has taken out the most popular selection to win the tournament in the campaign for North Africa, the Desert War, 1940-43. Causing massive shockwaves to the bracket challenge that we will get into later. For now, let's focus on RPS and its unwavering commitment to being completely redundant to the rock, paper, scissors experience. Those who have tuned in before are well acquainted with RPS's game plan of having a dock that technically adds nothing to the experience except a scoreboard. But an interesting new discovery is that there were actually multiple versions of the game sold. What I assumed to be the only version of the game was the one that came with 4 docks, so that you and all of your friends could play. But if the price tag was too high for some hot RPS action, then a smaller version containing only 2 docks was available at what I hope was a cheaper price. As for that price tag, the crowd has come up with somewhere in the $20 range for the privilege to play rock, paper, scissors. But take that with some salt, however, as I have no idea where they got that number. All in all, RPS has been a huge success for all the brackets that picked it to win it all. It is just a matter now of completing the journey and bringing the title home to its bracket faithful. Josh here, ready to try to convince you once again why you shouldn't vote for the rock, paper, scissors game. As both the disability aid and general fun of the RPS format didn't seem to work, I've got 2 new points that could be in favor of the title. First, it completely removes the ability to cheat. In what may be the only improvement this title made to the classic game, no amount of sleight of hand is going to be able to get past the protective shield to let you change your selection after you've picked. So if you've got a friend that you suspect has been cheating in every game, this game provides a solution. Is it complete overkill to purchase this just based on cheating suspicions? Yes, but it will be a 100% effective method in curbing the problem. Seeing as this has been the only legitimate benefit the game has managed to provide, the RPS fandom has taken to a new angle to try to prevent this title from moving on any further. That RPS shouldn't win because it's not a board game. These doubters consider the rock, paper, scissors game to be more akin to a toy like a Rubik's Cube than an actual game, and as such, does not think it deserves to move on in the worst board game tournament. Unfortunately, based on our metrics, the argument falls just short, as it reaches the game portion of the description by holding a contest with a winner and a loser, and while it doesn't include a traditional board, it does include peripherals that you use to play the game, similar to titles like Doggy Doo, Bean Boozled, and Adultery. It is very tough to come up with positives for games that make it this far into the tournaments, but I'm glad we could come up with at least the anti-cheating benefit so we could have at least one good thing for this completely useless piece of plastic. Now that we've fully covered RPS, let's head down to the low semi-final matchup to meet the game that will be going up against it. The other game that will be competing in the grand finals will be the number 1 seed, Adultery. The Stonk region champion has been completely unstoppable for its entire tournament run, once again scoring more than 70 points in its 5th straight game, taking down the meme machine. Those familiar with Adultery's moves know exactly why it has been so dominant, featuring one of the most insane gameplay loops in the entire genre, going from spinning spinner to actually getting it on with other players in just a few minutes. Some new perspectives were brought in against the title to shine more light on it as we look at the game from different points of view. Those that the game was not made for see this title as an absolute atrocity and an affront to both the board gaming sphere and decent morals in general. To compound that, those that the game was made for also won't enjoy it, as it highly regulates the entire practice with specific rules to follow, a set timekeeper to uphold those rules, and a whole lot of nothing for the other players to do while the two players are being regulated. As such, this has caused the game promptly into the "who is this made for" category, which has been an absolute blessing for the brackets that selected the title to win it all, as it clears every opponent that comes its way. But it now must penetrate this final barrier if it wants to win it all and claim the crown of worst of the worst. Alright, this time I'm really gonna convince you why you shouldn't vote for Adultery. The comments have given me some new material, so let's get into it. First off, the rules of the game were written intentionally in a vague manner, probably so they could have plausible deniability. But as a result of that, the only objective of this game is for you to spend a good time with two players of the opposite sex. Because of this wording, there's actually no part of the rules that specify that you must engage in any sexual activity. You could simply have a heartfelt conversation, or play rock, paper, scissors, or whatever else your heart desires until your time is up. Not only removing the criminal portion of the game, but also allowing anyone the ability to play. The only issue here is that if this was your plan all along, why are you playing a game called Adultery? The game isn't called lighthearted fun with friends. You know exactly what you're getting into. Look at the cover of the box! Okay, a weak starting point, sure, but we're not done. Another point is that the STD risk is way lower than people might first think, because you won't be playing with just strangers, mostly people that you know. Besides the fact that you will still have to convince these people to play the game first, the notion that there is any board game out there where the chance of catching an STD is not always zero is a bad look. On top of that, the game does not come included with any type of prophylactics, meaning that if you want to fully protect yourself from disease while playing, you will need to bring in outside components to properly enjoy the game. That's like if you want to play a game of Bean Boozled, but you had to bring your own gosh dang jelly beans. Alright, last try, my last resort. Look at this thing. A game called Adultery, made in 1969, with a naked woman and a funny looking guy on the cover. This would make for an incredible collector's item for people looking for strange board games. A piece of board gaming history that practically no one knows about but screams controversy? What a find! In addition to that, since nobody knows about or wants this thing, it is dirt cheap online for a game of its age. This thing fits the controversial board game collector niche perfectly, meaning we finally found a legitimate positive for Adultery. After that spirited rundown, we have finally met both of our challengers competing in the Grand Finals. Josh will now give us his prediction of who he thinks will be able to claim that championship crown. This is a tough one, Cam, because both of these games are so bad, but in such different ways. Even the simple ways to gauge which game is worse fall short of the whole picture here. Which game would I rather play? RPS for sure, I don't swing that way. But which game would I rather own? I'll get a chuckle every time I see Adultery. RPS is just gonna make me want to throw it away. After taking every single aspect into consideration, I have come to the conclusion that I would never seriously buy a copy of Adultery. But at the very least, I do not already own the game. Therefore, purchasing this title would at least accomplish something. That same result cannot be applied to the rock, paper, scissors game, which would just give you another copy of a game you already have at your fingertips. As such, I'm gonna have to go with the upset here and pick RPS to win just on the uselessness of it all. Greed is going to overtake lust on this one. A major pick from Josh as we head into the Grievous Grand Finals. Before we wrap up, let's take a look at the bracket challenge and the interesting development that was mentioned earlier. As we all know, TCFNA TDW 40-43 was the most picked game to win the tournament. As such, it losing in the semi-final round has caused massive shockwaves to the bracket challenge leaderboard. But none of us knew how serious those shockwaves were until now. With the campaign's elimination, neither of our previous bracket leaders of Bye and the Bunny or Yuri Man are now able to win the bracket challenge. In fact, only 2 of our more than 600 brackets are now in a position to claim the grand prize for themselves, and it directly correlates to whichever game wins the tournament. At the start of this round, Jessit Liu was in 3rd place, but by correctly guessing the RPS vs Adultery final, they have now moved into 1st. And if Adultery takes the top spot, then Jessit Liu will hold on to the lead and claim the bracket title. However, 20 points behind Jessit Liu at the start of the round was Moosemeat, who did not predict Adultery to be here, but was the only bracket that had RPS winning it all that was close enough to Jessit's score to not be removed from contention. If RPS manages to win this matchup, Moosemeat will just barely score a little over 100 points more than Jessit, which will earn him the bracket championship title and the grand prize. All of our other brackets in the top 10 either had North Africa, What Do You Meme, and in one instance Tic-Tac-Toe as their champion. A shout out to Sinzer for having a rest of the bracket so accurate that losing their champion in the first round still resulted in them making the top 10 near the end. But regardless, these brackets are now mathematically unable to get the points required to win, and will soon be losing many of their top 10 spots to the bracket faithful whose champion brings home that glorious title. Everything is riding on this match as we enter the conclusion of this glorious tournament. Both of these games have put it all on the line, but only one of them will be able to take that final step into the light and claim its title as the absolute worst of the worst. The final round's polls will be opening soon, so let us know below who you think will win it all, who you think has the 3rd place match, and what you would like to see us do after the conclusion of the tournament. Get ready for the Grievous Grand Finals as we take our final step towards finding the worst board game of all time. Signing off for the NBGA, I am Cam Sandwich. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day. This NBGA broadcast is brought to you from the loving patrons over at the deli. Our supplier, Flage, our staff, Max Leon Thomas, Floris Leffler, and Benny Rush, our chef, Matthew Connorth, and our investors, Ice92355 and Campbell Graves. Truly the greatest ride ever. The NBGA would also like to thank Cam Crim Productions and viewers like you. Thank you.